Hey, I'm Aaron, and this is Camp Peculiar, a channel dedicated to visual storytelling using AI art. And today, we're talking about jamming. We're talking about comic jamming, AI comic jamming, video game jamming, why jamming's important. And if you're into canon using jamming, you call that jamming. I'm not going to talk a lot about that, just mostly the first three things that I mentioned. We just got done on this channel with the first ever, maybe in world history or galactic history, we just got done with the first AI art comic jam. It was called Peculiar Panels #1. A bunch of you submitted comics for that. I'm super excited to celebrate and just go over and maybe do a tiny little bit of critique on some of the submissions we received. But first, let's talk about jamming, why creative jamming, not canon jamming, is important. Although canon jamming, I do believe, has its place in canon. I don't know that it has a place in this video. Here's why I think jamming is important. All right, so here's the thing with me and the creative process, and maybe this is true for you as well. When I take on a creative project, like a comic strip, comic book, a video game, something like that, I tend to stick with the parts that I'm comfortable with. I tend to stick with the parts that I'm good at. And the parts that I am good at and am comfortable with tend to be at the beginning of the project. They're the things that come first, right? I normally tackle a project start to end. And so you get really comfortable and really good with the parts at the beginning. But the parts at the middle, the parts at the end, the marketing parts, the releasing parts, the packaging parts, the bug testing, the editing parts, sometimes I don't get to put as much effort into those things and get better at them because I quit the project long before I got to that stage. And for solo creatives and maybe even small teams, it's important that you become comfortable, you become good at the whole process. And it's really hard to get good at the whole process when you change gears when things get hard. And that's something I am certainly guilty of. I tend to change directions and reinsert myself back into parts that move quickly and that I'm good at before I've given myself an opportunity to learn through the hard parts. And I think this is an understandable and I hope relatable behavior of starting up a project, getting to a hard part, and then changing directions. I got a few reasons why I think we change directions and then a solution for that at the end. But before we get to those things, let's look at the submissions for Category A for Peculiar Panels #1. That's the one where I wrote all the dialogue. So there were 3 panels. I wrote all the words for it. You couldn't change the dialogue, but you got to create the characters, the setting, and therefore influence the story. Let's see what you guys came up with. Here we go from Takomi AI. Let's see if I can get the arrow there on there. What I like about this is sort of a different way to handle who's talking. You notice there's this fade here when she's talking, and then he's like more like taking a break is when he is in focus, and then she is sort of opacity out, and then she's like, "Can I have your stuff?" So really interesting way to do dialogue there. Great job. Had to include this one from JP Sleeper because it's just appropriate for the holidays. We got this elf, and he's sort of like, you can tell in his eyes that he's kind of glad. He's hoping. I think he's hoping that Santa was quitting. Look, there's a lot more going on here than I think you realize. This elf's like, "You're quitting?" And look at Santa's eyes like, "I know you've been waiting for this. You think you're taking over the job of Santa, but you're not. Like, I'm just taking a break, man. Stop asking." Here we go from Art Bob Monkey, a really fun and clean art style here. This was, I assume, Midjourney 3 because I don't even think 4 was released when this came out. Pretty decent looking comic bubbles there, rectangular. And I think this is probably either a nurse, I want to say, probably a nurse or some sort of housekeeping type of situation. I don't know who the magical frog is, but I like it nonetheless. Who's to say it's a magical frog? And then there's this guy behind here, which is that like is a puppet, or it's really a deeper comment on the roles that we play in society. Great job, Art Bob Monkey. Thanks for the submission. You got to love this Category A submission from Offboarded. The art style is delightful. The comic bubbles look fantastic. The art style is just really clean and fun and feels like a Ken and Barbie meets like 80s commercial. I don't know. And then she is asking for for possession, I think, of the 1992 Jeep Wrangler wood panel side. Great job, Offboarded. Appreciate it. Really love this one from Eric L. That was obviously an attempt to not have to pronounce your last name. I'm sorry about that. But I love this. I don't know if this is an Andor or if this is a Star Wars thing. It feels very Star Warsy to me, and I like it for that reason. Love the more sci-fi font for this guy, and that you really did some different comic bubble tales here. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if you added this head in after and this was a totally different thing, or if you got, this is Midjourney 3 for sure, if you got this side render with the beard here that matches the beard here, which I would think in Midjourney 3 was difficult to do. And so I don't know if this head came from somewhere else, but great job. I really liked this one as well. I think this is a Watergate Nixon thing going on here. I'm not 100% sure, but that's how it read to me. Another one from JP Sleeper. I like this one because it's holiday related, and the Christmas tree gets a voice here. Would have liked this comic bubble, I don't know, maybe down and have that arrow like a little bit more directly to the face. I believe Frosty is dead. So great little gag there. The sun is a nice touch too. I wonder if that was part of the image, or these comic arrows are huge, but who cares? I wonder if that was part of this image or if you added the sun in afterwards. We had this submission from Sabin357 art. Check out the Instagram. I got to tell you, when you look at this right away, when it comes in through a submission, I just see it kind of zoomed out a little bit. The art style looks drawn. This is, you know what? You're getting it right now. It's happening right now. You're getting a bonus ribbon. You guys didn't even know there were ribbons. You didn't know there were awards. It doesn't come with a prize that has any cash value, but just like a feeling in your heart that you're being recognized for something. Everyone did a great job. We're all winners, but this one's getting the bonus credit. There we go. Bing. Maybe I should put a sound effect in there. Extra credit award, really close to winning category A. Just love the art style on that. This has a very, who's the girl from The Office that works the front desk? Everybody's like, you're kidding. You don't know. You don't have that information right off the top of your head. Her name is Pam from The Office vibe. I don't know if this is supposed to be Jim. Maybe this is supposed to be an Office whole thing. I didn't read that initially. It gets the extra credit award because the art, I don't know what this prompt is that generated this, but the art style is amazing. So anyways, congratulations on your extra credit award. And I got to tell you, it was a tough decision. I didn't even really know there was going to be awards, but this next one for Peculiar Panels #1 is taking category A, which comes with very little accolades and things like that. Other than this ribbon right here. Here you go. Here's your category A winner for Peculiar Panels #1. Now I have to turn the award off. Ben Jackson gets it for this cute little Spyro the Dragon-ish character. You're Quitting. Definitely a different character. This one's got like jewels on his head, nothing there, and they're facing different directions. I like that this one is facing into the shot. And then this one, even though they're in different panels, is facing into that guy. And then on this pile of gold is just a great little, very dragony, very clear. The artwork is fantastic. So congratulations on this comic submission. Great job on all those panels. Congratulations, everybody that submitted. It really is kind of hard just to get to that point. I know you were just generating art, but you have to like sit down and go to Discord and do whatever and actually come up with 3 images that supported the dialogue that was there. Great job. It was really fun to look at the artwork for those comic strips. I love comic strips, and here's one of the reasons why. They're very quick to create. So that feedback loop and the potential problems that you could run to are kind of minimal. And I don't know about you, but I'm somebody that in a creative project, I need that feedback. I need that encouragement along the way. And so when I take on a longer project, here's what's happening, and here's why I quit. Maybe you can relate to this. Is that the beginning is good and easy, and there's all this possibility, all these ideas. It's like green. It's like, I was going to say green skies and blue grass. Let's go with that. This is like an example that takes place on a planet where that makes sense. But there's green skies and blue grass and everything looks great. And the feedback comes quickly as you create what you want to create, and it comes consistently as you work through parts that you're comfortable with. But then you run into a problem and the feedback slows or stops, and you're almost at a point of sort of facing a test, like, I can't go on with this creative project unless I solve this problem. And I don't know how long it's going to take to solve this problem. I don't know if I'm going to like the work that goes into solving this problem. And so there's a bunch of work, a bunch of effort that's required, and the feedback comes to a screeching halt. And for me, doubt starts to creep in. I doubt that the effort I'm about to put into solving this problem will get the feedback that I'm looking for. And then as the problem grows, the tendency to want to start something new that doesn't have problems or problems that you think it has and get back into that mode where everything is green skies and blue grass on a sci-fi alien planet where that makes sense. Get back in that mode where you're getting the feedback, where you're getting the encouragement, where you have all the possibilities still ahead of you. Instead of moving through those problems, I tend to get a little bit overwhelmed. I tend to think, I don't want to learn how KDP works today. I don't want to learn how the Comixology creative studio thing works today. I just wanted to make a comic book, and now I'm doing all this other stuff I didn't want to do. And I think I delude myself for a second in thinking that's maybe I can find a project where I don't have to do any of those things, where there aren't any problems. And that's why I think comic jams are an amazing tool to developing your creative process and your creative workflow. More on that in a second, because here's the thing. We actually had a category B with Peculiar Panels. Category B, it didn't get as many submissions. That's where I just wrote the middle panel and put art in it. There was just one line of dialogue in the middle, but the two panels on the left and the right, the beginning panel and the end panel, they were empty. You got to do whatever you want to do with those to tell a story. And you guys did, and you told some good ones. Let's take a look at what those were all about. The first one up is from Eric L. again, and we have this guy. We're matching mustache here. We're matching style. So he is headed somewhere. He's come down, presumably this long step of stairs. He gets into this basement area, and these guys say, "But Dave, we're totally out of chips and salsa." And they are playing some form of milk carton sabacc, which is excellent. This guy's obviously, he's playing his own game here. He brought a hat and his cards. I wasn't 100% sure about him facing this direction in the first panel. Because he's moving into this direction, clearly he could have walked somewhere else and turned his head and ended up sort of talking to these guys over here. But I know for whatever reason in my brain, I thought this panel should have been maybe flipped so that his direction was left to right, leading him into this panel and then over here. Next one from JP Sleeper. You have this shot here of this sort of Frankenstein meets hair product salesman meets like a guy that sells insurance, and he's like, grr, and he's like, that's what I came all the way down here for. And he's like, surprise, I've got 3 rows of teeth and 2 on the bottom. Now he's got a birthday cake. Another one from JP, one of the many cat submissions we got, but I like this one. I'm here to save the world again. And he's like, that's what I came down here for, clearly in New York. And he's like, ungrateful human. Here's one from Art Bob Monkey. We got this gal saying, Harold, can you believe this? That's what I came all the way down here for. And then we have this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Rocky the Raccoon. Just this like very raccoony guy going, hey, you want a slice? He's eating pizza out of a dumpster. There's nothing wrong with that. He's even got a little drink there to go with it. Really bold using cursive text for a raccoon there, Art Bob Monkey. I think Ashcan BB would have been a better font choice. I'm joking. You use whatever font you want to. I like a refined raccoon. He's eating pizza in a dumpster, but he has the sense to use a nice scripty font. And here you go, the moment that, regardless if you've been waiting for it, it's happening now. Let's bring up the winner, who is none other, the now infamous, I got to find the button to make it show up, JP Sleeper, with this, I don't know how he reads. He kind of reads like a 24-year-old, like was in college definitely, but then has just kind of not finished it. Maybe his dad has some issues with that like he's dressing nice, but he's really not holding to it the priorities that they had talked about when he was growing up. But his hair still looks pretty good. And he's like, hey. And his dad's like, I think this is his dad. He's like, ugh. He's already seen what's going on. He's seen it and he's like, that's what I came all the way down for. and this, I don't know, reminds me of a character from like an 80s sitcom about 2 dudes that live in the city. But he's like, happy birthday, you grumpy old man. So congratulations, JP. But I tell you what, you're also getting one of these guys. You're also getting an extra credit award. Let's go ahead and pin those to your comic like a state fair. Like you won a couple of different categories. You got the extra credit award for the number of submissions, by far more than everybody else. Great job. And then this guy right there, we'll pin that one right there for winning category B with just a comic I thought was funny. So yay, awesome job on those category B submissions. I want to do more of that. We're going to change the format in December a little bit, but those were super fun to get and see what kind of stories you guys came up with. So here's 2 things that an AI comic jam like this one, or like a video game jam, they change 2 things that are really pivotal in helping you become more comfortable and better at moving through the entire creative process. So the first thing that jams change is that they introduce a time constraint. And having a time constraint, especially a quick one, is really important. It's pivotal because it doesn't allow you the luxury of changing gears. It doesn't give you time to daydream and say like, oh, I wonder if this isn't right or there's problems with this, and so maybe I should really just start over from scratch. There is no time to start over from scratch, so you have to finish the thing that you're working on. You're sort of forced to push through it. The second thing I think they change is they lower the expectation. They lower the bar a lot internally, maybe not externally, but probably that too. You know that like this isn't something you're pinning your hopes and dreams to. This isn't the thing that's going to allow you to like quit your job and become famous or have this huge thing. This isn't this thing you've dreamed about as a kid, this story you've had forever, and you're finally getting to tell this story that is a big deal to you. It's just this thing you're doing right now. It's this small thing. I don't want to call it a throwaway thing, but it's not. But there is a level of unattachment to a jam creative project that lowers the expectation. And it allows you to say things to yourself while you're working through the project like, well, this is just for a jam, so it's okay if this isn't coded exactly right, or if this isn't exactly the most scalable way or the ideal way to do this, because it's just for a jam and I'm going to be done in just a few minutes. So it's okay if I just push it forward, even if it's not scalable or perfect. You give yourself permission to finish something by tricking yourself into thinking it's a rough draft. And maybe it is, but jam stuff is great. It's finished stuff. You actually made something and submitted it. You submitted yourself to the process and you got to submit art at the end of that. And I think that's awesome. And I think those two things alone, the introduction of a time constraint and the reduction of internal expectations that you have on yourself, really allow you to move all the way through the creative process and learn from each part of the process, especially the end parts of a creative process, which tend to be not all that creative and actually more about like setting up the stuff you need to set up to submit it or release it or launch it or bring it into the world. And that's why when we do the next one, Peculiar Panels number 2, coming in December, I think you should definitely participate in it. Thanks to everybody who participated in this one. It was a ton of fun seeing that stuff come in again. I really am thankful for the community that is behind Camp Peculiar. Keep creating, and I will see you next time at Camp Peculiar.